My mother had breast cancer and was a breast cancer survivor. I've also known lots of friends of mine have also had breast cancer. So we decided to do a moonwalk. It's just the most moving, extraordinary experience. And yes, there is a fun part of it, but there's also the truth of it, which is that you're walking for people that sometimes we have lost, and for people who are going through it, and for people who've come out the other side of it.
I had a diagnosis myself of breast cancer this year in June, so I'm going to be joining you next May on that moonwalk. Hello, I'm Leonie Mellinger. Welcome to The Courage to Speak, the series where I meet people who have spoken out about important issues, personal difficulties, or in the face of injustice. My guest today is one of our most beloved and versatile actresses, Harriet Thorpe. Whether starring in the West End musicals Cabaret, Wicked, Les Misérables and Mama Mia, making us laugh on TV in the Brittas Empire, Absolutely Fabulous and French and Saunders, or dominating Albert Square as Elaine Peacock, the glamorous matriarch of EastEnders. Harriet specialises in creating unforgettable, larger-than-life characters. And she carries that energy into her charity work as well, especially as the patron of MoonWalk, the annual flagship fundraising event for the breast cancer awareness charity Walk the Walk. It was a particular joy for me to have Harriet as my guest on my podcast. Not only are we great friends, but the subject that we're talking about is especially personal to me, as you'll find out when you listen to the podcast. Harriet, welcome. And thank you so much for joining me today. I think we ought to start by letting people know that actually we have been friends since drama school, Central School of Speech and Drama, from years ago.
I'm just going to say the word 70s, late 70s, and leave it there.
70s and leave it there, absolutely. So we were also together in our wonderful teacher George Hall's podcast.
And 100th birthday.
And we were at his 100th birthday in February, where you sang beautifully. I believe you sang your favourite audition song that George taught you.
Yeah, Rose of Washington Square, which I've used for every single audition I've ever done, I think, because I only play crazy, psychotic women.
Yes,
and
of course.
Rose is one of them. So she's got me a lot of jobs.
Fantastic. Today, we are focusing especially on your devoted and wonderful support for Walk the Walk, the breast cancer charity who organise MoonWalk. First of all, why is it called Walk the Walk?
I think because it's that simple. It's not a race. We're not competing. We're just together, one step at a time. And that's what matters.
And what made you decide to get involved? Because you've been involved for a long time, haven't you? What made you get involved?
About 23 years now.
23 years?
Yeah.
And why did you choose to get involved?
My mother had breast cancer and was a breast cancer survivor. And I've also known in this journey that we go on through life, on the roller coaster, lots of friends of mine have also had breast cancer. And my dear friend, Victoria Wood, and I, we wanted to do something that would be compelling and make a difference. So we decided to do a moonwalk. And we trained, we did 3 marathons, 3 years running. Vic then also had made a documentary about it, which was fantastic, which I was walking in the background, obviously, as much as I could. And and I think I've just kept going since then and dragged everyone I've ever known into walking the walk, because it's just the most extraordinary experience. And it honours all those people who are, have or have had breast cancer.
Well, as you know, but very few others outside my close family know that I had a diagnosis myself of breast cancer this year in June. So I'm going to be joining you next May on that moonwalk.
Yes! Thrilled.
So I do want to hear more about that. But obviously, as I've told you, it was a huge shock for me, and particularly as I am absolutely rigid about going for my 3-year mammograms, and I checked myself and there was no symptoms whatsoever. But I was advised that one maybe shouldn't always wait for 3 years, and it's quite good to go halfway, either 12 to 8 or 18 months. But I still thought, no, this is a complete waste of time. I don't need to do it. So when they found a lump, I was completely stunned, and I'm extremely grateful that I did go, because it was very small and I had it taken out and then just had 5 days radiotherapy, and I just have now a glowing orb or glowing boob.
Impressive.
Yes, impressive.
People pay good money for that.
Exactly. So I feel very grateful, but I feel that it's important, as somebody who's asking people to have the courage to speak, that I should speak up about it. And I'm very grateful to you, because you're my friend, and I felt able to tell you. So I think it's important that we do let others know, because I was under the false impression that if I didn't have any symptoms and I waited and did my mammogram after 3 years, that I'd be fine. So it's not always the case, is it?
100% you're right. And I think, again, hearing you say this now is so important, because sharing this knowledge and sharing the experience of having something that is a shock is not on our sort of notice board of what we should expect in life. There's no shame in it. It's about fear, obviously, and one just wants to get through it and handle it before, and know what it is, but there's no touchstone there.
No.
We just have to go through it. And I think I'm interested to know. Also, my mother just had radiotherapy and survived until her almost 90th birthday. Yeah. So again, it doesn't matter, just check it. And I think, again, having to wait 3 years is not always great. But again, we're limited by what the National Health can offer us and certain ages and all of that.
Yeah, I learned all kinds of things. Like, I had no idea that there's such a thing as dense breast tissue, which apparently I have, and it means that it's harder to see anything on the ordinary mammogram. So they then gave me a 3D mammogram, which I didn't even know existed. So there's all sorts of things they're discovering now, and I know that the charity that you're supporting, Walk the Walk, is also responsible for incredible research.
Absolutely. It gives money to many, many different charities, not just one. When you say you had a 3D X-ray, who gave you that? Who provided that when you chose to get it checked?
It was that when I went for the ordinary mammogram, they then said, could you wait in the waiting room? And I thought, why is this? And then they said, could you come back? We're going to do a 3D mammogram because you have dense breast tissue. And I thought, what's this? I didn't know about dense breast tissue. And then they said, could you wait again? And then they said, could you now come for an ultrasound? And that was when they said, you have a lump. And I was, what? Well, obviously it's benign. And they said, I don't think so, but we'll do a biopsy, which wasn't exactly pleasant, I have to say. Then heard that, yes, definitely it was cancer, but stage 1, very luckily, early stage. So had it taken out very quickly.
When they said they do the biopsy and you said it wasn't a pleasant experience, of course not, do you get numbed? Are you conscious for that?
You are, and you get a first injection, which I was told was going to be like a bee sting, and it was.
They lied. Oh, yeah, did they? I was going to say they lied.
No, but it was like a very, very unpleasant bee sting.
I hear you.
And I was grabbing the hand of the nurse extremely tightly and biting my lip and whatever. So they do that, and then, yes, by then, after that, you're numb. So it still feels very odd when they do the next bit. But the painful bit, actually, is the thing that numbs you.
How long till you found out the result?
Less than a week, actually. And then immediately given a date for surgery fairly soon.
Which is fantastic.
It is fantastic.
And so important.
Yeah. And they just took it out. And because it was early, I was able to just have the radiotherapy. And that's that.
How often will you get checked now?
I'm not actually sure. I think it's every 6 months. I'm not entirely sure, but I think it's every 6 months. But I'm now going to go on this drug for 5 years, letrozole, which apparently can give you unpleasant side effects, but hopefully I won't.
I never look at them, because if I look at them, then I'm probably going to imagine that I have them.
Absolutely.
And I'd rather not know, darling.
No, me too.
Me too. Even if you have the slightest thing like a flu jab, they say, well, you could. I said, don't tell me, it's fine.
Exactly. No, they tried to tell me that I was going to have all sorts of things with radiotherapy, and I had nothing apart from A glowing boob.
Again, you like a spotlight, so there we go.
So I remember when I first told you, and I said, I'm not sure if I want to tell people because I don't want to be defined by it, and I don't want people to look at me and first thought is, oh, Leonie's had breast cancer. And I remember you said, no, I don't think that will be the case at all.
We're not defined by it. What, actually happens is people are there to support. And as I said earlier, there's no shame, there's no, it's about one's own anxiety, quite rightly. You don't want to have to, it's hard enough to process it in your own head without having to share it endlessly with people. So I think everyone has to do what's right for them.
You're right.
But I think the reality is, I know that people will be there for you, and were.
Absolutely, like you. But in the beginning, it's really odd because my brain was sort of in denial. So I would kind of forget. And then suddenly it would come back to me, oh, you've got cancer. And then the other half of my brain would go, no, that's not right. No, you don't get cancer. You haven't got cancer. And apparently that's quite common, that you kind of think, no, it's not right. That's not what happens to me. I don't get cancer. So it still sounds weird to me when I talk about it. I mean, that the research it's moved things on.
Absolutely.
So phenomenally. I was told 10 years ago I would have had to have a mastectomy. The reaction of other people is very interesting because, as you said, that there's no shame, and I agree. I don't feel any shame, but it is something that used to be considered shameful, that people wouldn't even mention the C word. And still, with some people, when I tell them, they almost stop breathing. I can see it, and they go very tense and still and quiet, and don't know how to respond. And I go, no, it's okay. I'm all right. It's okay. It's all right. But that's why I think the more we all talk about it, the more we normalise it and go, look, this is something that so many people are going to have to deal with. So let's just talk about it then share it.
You're so right, because we go to our worst case scenario. That's where everyone goes to first of all. And then reality kicks in. And ultimately, we'll have the medical support, the emotional support, the practical support. And as you say, normalising something, is so important. So we can say, I'm not okay today.
Exactly. So going back to the MoonWalk, which
Yes.
I'm going to be doing now next year with you, it always looks to be so full of energy with people in bright costumes and colourful bras walking through the night together. Yet underneath, I can sense that there's a deep sense of solidarity.
The MoonWalk is extraordinary because it's about 15,000 people walking together through the night, and Battersea Power Station is lit up in pink, the Wheel is, the National Theatre, Tower Bridge. It's just the most moving, extraordinary experience. And yes, people are positive because you're starting with an energy, and that doesn't disappear, but the journey as you walk together and talk together. And in my team, Harriet's Big Tits, we sing musical theatre songs off and on with loads of different pals just to keep us going. And we also shout the word bollards, because all down the South Bank there are bollards. It sounds fairly rude, but like I'm insulting somebody. But no, I'm just shouting, look out, because we're all walking and you can't always see them. So we just shout bollards. We know where to stop off to go to the loo. So again, there's camaraderie. We go to the National Theatre because there is a lovely place there. I've been to the Chelsea fire station before, which was very pleasant. A lot of firemen, and they let us all walk in, my team walk in and avail ourselves of their,
Of their what?
lavatories.
Oh, marvellous.
I know, shame. Anyway, it's a journey. It's just walking. And to walk through London from Clapham Common down to the river to Battersea Park and walk through there, then cross the bridge, down the other side of the water till you get to Westminster, cross back over, past the National, past the Wheel. And there's a point when we turn back up to the centre of London again, when we've been through the city, past St Paul's. At Hyde Park Corner is where the marathon splits from the full marathon to the half marathon. And it's that moment when London is vibrant and amazing and people are out on a Saturday night, happy, doing their thing. And then there's a kind of magical quiet when you're just walking together through the streets where the noise and the bustle have chilled out a bit. And it's sharing bits of life, or, I think I've got a blister, let's stop for 5 minutes. It's just all of us together. There is a fun part of it, but there's also the truth of it, which is that you're walking for people that sometimes we have lost, and for people who are going through it, and for people who've come out the other side of it. And, wonderful Heather Peace, who's in EastEnders with me,
Yes.
Was able to talk about it. And again, she's going to be doing it this year as well, because she's just gone through it all, and chemo. And she's been talking about it. And she's never stopped. Even when she was having chemo, she was coming into work.
My goodness.
They made her a brilliant wig in the hair and makeup department, and she was able to keep going. And BBC EastEnders supported her all the way through it. If we can keep going, then we can.
Yes, and it's so much better. People said, you probably want to sort of take it easy. I haven't taken it easy. I've been absolutely the opposite.
Of course.
And that's probably why I haven't had any side effects thus far, because I haven't
Not
had
been
time.
to allow it.
No time for that. No time. No, that's the point. I don't think one wants to sort of lie down and I mean, unless if you're feeling tired and you want to lie down, that's another thing.
Absolutely, but it's doing what you want.
Exactly.
And there's no one way to do anything.
Yes, exactly.
And everyone has different experiences from each treatment. So it's all okay. And as you say, keep on keeping on. Why wouldn't we?
And is there a particular fun memory from one of your many walks that you've done?
I think there's so many. Vic and I used to laugh because we had built up some speed, and then some people would overtake us, and we were both quite competitive. So we decided we had to walk past them even faster, which we did. and then Gabby Roslin and I have done it together for years, and Tom Reed Wilson and I and Gabby, and we all sang musical theatre songs as we went round. I had a wonderful time with Jennifer Saunders, who was also at Central with us, obviously.
Yes.
She came and did it 3 times, I think, and I think even before she had breast cancer. There was one year we had lots of friends from musical theatre, and I think a few of them stopped off to get some champagne in an all-night corner shop,
Sounds
which was
good.
hysterical. Not me, obviously, it was some gentlemen who actually. I mean, that's the point. Men also get breast cancer. And, every year there's a theme. And last year was musical theatre. So I had my bra decorated. I got pictures of all the shows I'd been in musical theatre and plastered them all over my tits. And my first one that I did was a skyline from Tower Bridge all the way up to Battersea Park in sequins. Not many people can get that across their chest.
No,
Just
absolutely.
I was quite proud.
Yeah, actually, that reminds me, I need to ask you something. Your team is called Big Tits.
Copy that.
Am I disqualified if I don't have big tits?
No, because the big is because we're a big team.
Oh, okay.
And the tits is we've got them.
Okay, so
or if you haven't, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You had them.
Okay.
And so we're just going to define ourselves with big tits.
Excellent. So next year is the 30th anniversary of Walk the Walk, which is extremely exciting. And so I am very thrilled to be part of your 30th anniversary. And the MoonWalk is on Saturday, the 16th of May, starting and finishing, as you said, at Clapham Common. There'll be thousands of men and women taking part. Entries are already open, and apparently everyone can find out more and sign up at walkthewalk.org.
Indeed.
What tips can you give me about training and clothing, and what kind of bras? Do I wear the bra outside and my clothes, or whatever?
What I had to learn, first of all, because I trained at the Royal Ballet School before my tits actually grew, and then I had to stop dancing because you can't get them into a tutu. But I learned with dance training is you just keep on going. And I was busy walking the walk training with a friend of mine. And she said, I've got a blister. And I was like, all right, darling, we'll get to the next garage, get some plasters, get some Nurofen, and then we'll just keep going. And then I realised normal people, when things hurt, they stop.
Yes.
But when you've got a bun on the brain ballet head, you just keep going. It hurts, but I'll keep going on point. No.
Yes.
No. So again, it's managing what is good for you and what is different for somebody else.
Yes.
So I think one has to start slowly and build up. You can't just start, I'll just walk 5 miles. No, don't. Walk 1.5 miles, walk 3 miles, walk 5 miles. Do that journey over time if you can. I've also done it often when I've been doing shows in the West End. I finish the show at 10, go straight to wherever it was leaving from, Hyde Park or Clapham, and then just start from there. So, and with no training at all, because I hadn't had time because I was doing 8 shows a week.
Oh my
so
God.
It just depends on, I know, #crazy. It just depends what you can do. And I think the last few years I haven't had time to train, but it's not running, it's walking.
And what kind of shoes do I need?
You need to absolutely get shoes that you would have for a marathon, proper trainers
Right.
that are going to support you, that sometimes have a dip at the back so you don't hurt your Achilles, which is often where you get blisters.
Right.
I travel with a purse belt of, obviously, things like painkillers, blister plasters, because you don't know what's going to happen. If you've trained over a few months, and I think normally Vic and I would start training in January and give us, a gentle time to do, 26.2 miles. The ongoing inspiration to us all is Nina Burrow, who created Walk the Walk, the MoonWalk, who had a dream about just seeing people walking. And that started her extraordinary journey into this amazing charity. And then, rather confusingly, and as we've discussed, you're never prepared for it, she then got breast cancer, and she is a survivor. There's amazing volunteers who just do it for nothing to support us all the way along, giving us water and all sorts of things and support all the way along. So you don't need to take water with you. You can, but also people give it to you all the way around. I never stop on the way at the cabin loos, because then you lose time and you get cold when you queue up. So you have to plot where your loo breaks are, which can be different for everybody.
I'm following you.
Yeah, copy that. You can just go into a pub or, as I said, a fire station if you fancy it. Bras, you have to be sure, even though you're used to walking, that your bra is supportive and isn't going to chafe.
Yes.
And although you may decorate it with the theme of the year, not too many sequins, because they can be quite painful. So again, it's wearing, people start off with feather boas, and then halfway through, or a quarter of the way through, you see feather boas in the gutter where people have got scratched and they've just let them go. And people start off with the most amazing costumes, but you've got to think, I'm going to be walking in this hat for, 6 hours. A Stetson may not be very comfortable after about 35 minutes.
Yes.
The first wave of people is about 5,000 people each time, and it starts around 10 o'clock, 10:30, and then it's every half hour, 3 more times.
And approximately, what time does one finish?
Well, again, it's different for everybody. It could be 3 o'clock, 3:30, 4. I know people doing the whole marathon often turn up, sort of 5, 6 o'clock. But it just depends how fast you walk or how slow. There's no measure.
How on earth did you manage it when you went straight from the theatre? No rest, no sleep, walking through the night?
What is our mantra? The show must go on.
Exactly.
There you go.
Keep walking, walk the walk.
Copy that.
Absolutely. Do you know how much has the charity raised over the years?
Over £146 million for Walk the Walk.
Oh my goodness, that is incredible.
Isn't it?
So when I sign up, I get people to sponsor me, do I?
Absolutely. And you'll have a link that you can post and send to so anyone can sponsor you.
Oh, how brilliant. I'm looking forward to it. Harriet, you mentioned your mum earlier, Gillian Freeman, because I know that you said she had breast cancer and she recovered and lived till she was nearly 90, which is fantastic. But she was a really remarkable woman, wasn't she? And she was an influential writer, way ahead of her time, with her acclaimed novel, The Leather Boys, which explored same-sex love in the early 1960s. And that was long before it was safe or even popular to do so. What made her choose that particular subject?
My mother always had a voice for other people. And The Leather Boys was about working-class biker boys who fell in love when it was still illegal to be gay. It was an extraordinary novel that obviously was then made into a film with Rita Tushingham and Dudley Sutton. And the novel is more explicit, but it was so important. And also that was the wave of liberalism coming in. I mean, I grew up in a world, my father was an actor, and it didn't matter who you loved, what religion you were, or where you were from. Everything was normal. And it was only when I really went to school that I realised there was homophobia, racism, anti-Semitism, Islamophobia. All of that is where you learn other people hate each other.
Yes.
Because the culture of the arts is we're all together.
What made your mother like that, do you think? What was...
I don't think you have a choice in how you express yourself. From the beginning of time, man has needed to reflect its world, whether it's a cave painting or Greek tragedy or Shakespeare. We reflect our world to say, look, this is what's going on. It's bad, it's good. And I think whether you write it, sing it, dance it, act it, paint it, knit it, it doesn't matter. It's telling stories. And that's what the human race does all the time. And it's so easily dismissed, as we know. Oh, just lovies, dismissed.
Yes.
No, we do things and say things because people need to hear them.
And as you said, The Leather Boys was made into a movie, and it's apparently often referred to as the Brokeback Mountain of its time.
Correct, it was.
Were you aware at the time of how groundbreaking her work was?
I was 5. I was on set. I remember Roger Moore was there because he was doing The Saint in the studios, and Cliff Richard was there. He was doing Summer Holiday, I think. And I just remember chatting to him, sitting on his lap chatting, because I was 5. So no, not even remotely aware. Just growing up in a jolly, luckily, a jolly honoured place to be.
As you said, your father was Edward Thorpe, was an actor, and also the dance critic of the Evening Standard for 25 years. Do you remember the conversations around the dinner table at home about art, truth, standing up, speaking out?
But again, it was all normal. So my mum, because of her movie career started, we went to Hollywood when I was about 8. And she'd say to me and my sister, oh, we're going to Jack's for brunch on Sunday. And we'd go, okay. That was Jack Lemmon.
Oh, my goodness.
But, it's just Jack. She worked with Robert Altman. And my sister and I, Matilda, we grew up playing on the backlots. And Hello Dolly was so expensive, Main Street, to put up that they never took it down. So we just played in Harmonia Gardens, as you do.
How wonderful.
But it was all normal. I wasn't aware of who these people were. It was just a world of creativity and non-judgment. I mean, I don't know if I'm allowed to say this word, but there are arseholes everywhere.
Oh, yes.
So, of course, that's in our business too. But in the main, as a culture, we're together.
So what was that like, suddenly being whisked off to Hollywood?
It was fabulous because my North London State Primary School, the food was just normally grey. And suddenly I was in Beverly Hills and there was pizza and chocolate milk. It was so cool. And, it was extraordinary.
How long were you there for?
We were there 2 consecutive years. And then my friend Mary Beth, she fell asleep over her math book in class because she'd taken pills out of her mother's. She was fine, but she'd taken pills out of her mother's medicine cabinet. And my parents thought this was, again, 60s, end of the 60s, 70s, liberal, hippie time. And they thought, maybe we'll come back to London, which is a multicultural, amazing city with the arts, and go over there every time Mum had a film. So that's what we did for the next 30 years.
And I believe you had an experience where you found yourself in a lift or an elevator with Fred Astaire.
Yes, we were in Italy. Mum was doing a film in Italy, and they were doing a big movie out there, and not hers. She was writing another one, but it was just where we were. And I went up in the lift with Fred Astaire, and I said, I was such a huge fan. And I said, I love Singing in the Rain. Obviously, that was Gene Kelly.
Oops.
But he nodded and smiled, and I didn't really realise till much later in my life. But at least I got to say something positive, even if it was an insult.
So what do you think about the influence of your mother, her spirit, her voice? Does that guide the person that you've become?
Absolutely it does. And I think I never doubted that I would provide for my family, that I would work. Ultimately, I brought up my kids on my own when they were 8 and 5, and nothing changed much because it was me working. Yeah. And I have a strapline for my character in EastEnders, which they said to me, can you decide what it might be? And I said, it's get off the pity pot, crack a fucking smile and get on with it. Because that's the best way to be. Make a choice. Today can be miserable, but you know what? Crack a smile, get on. Why not? Make a choice. Does it serve us all to feel terrible? No. And that's like you said, you haven't stopped.
Yeah.
To have that word cancer in your mind on a daily basis, but it doesn't detract or define the woman that you are.
Yeah.
And that's what matters.
Absolutely. I totally agree. I always think you have a choice about your attitude, and it's not always easy, but you can choose.
And that's what we've done. And that's what we learned at Central
Exactly.
years ago from George.
Indeed.
And, we just get on with it. And the show must go on. And if you look at the lyrics of There's No Business Like Show Business, we smile when we're low.
Yes.
It tells you everything you need to know.
Yes.
Absolutely everything.
We learnt so much from George, didn't we?
We really did.
We're
An
all...
amazing man. Still do. He's still teaching. He's 100.
Yes. Yes. He's an extraordinary man. And I love going to see him still and getting my fix.
Absolutely. We do all the time. It's heaven.
As I mentioned in the introduction, you have had an incredible career in the West End, especially in musicals such as Mamma Mia, Wicked and Cabaret. Why were you drawn to those musicals, and do you have a favourite role?
Again, it's interesting. I don't know that I'm drawn to them. I just say yes to everything because I don't think I'm too important or good for anything. I love working.
Yes.
I love the diversity. It used to be if you did a commercial, it would be professional suicide. I've always just said yes. And also, as I think I've mentioned, I only play psychotic women, Madame Thénardier, or it's Mrs. Lovett, who's putting people into her pies. In Wicked, I play Madame Morrible, who's the only really wicked character in it. Tanya in Mamma Mia is having a great time with some young gentlemen. Everyone's, and now I meet an old tart or I'm a queen killing her king. That's just life. But I love being characters. And actually, when I think about the Zeffirelli film we did.
Oh, yes.
I was a kind of coquettish, bitchy soprano.
You are indeed. Yes, we're talking about The Young Toscanini, directed by Franco Zeffirelli, which was, I think we both agree, one of the most extraordinary experiences that
we've enjoyed still to this day.
Still enjoy, and we have our little group that gets together to talk about it.
And what do we call our group?
The Zeffirelli Follies.
Yes, indeed.
Yes.
Says everything.
I was a Brazilian revolutionary.
No change there, darling.
No change there. So, as you said, you always played these larger than life characters, which are absolutely wonderful. And is there a difference in how you approach the comedy shows of things like the Brittas Empire and Ab Fab and the drama of EastEnders?
I think it's always the people we want to create, and there's always a smorgasbord of choice of what you're going to do for each character. I don't think I ever use my own voice for anything. It's always a voice that evolves out of that person.
Yes.
Perhaps it was really like that. A very weak R. Didn't pronounce them properly. And Jen used to write things for me with lots of R's in. And Elaine talks like she smokes 60 fags a day. And yes, it's someone who's trying not to cry all the time. So again, it's like we do. It's like costume. You put it on or you create these little habits that then has a voice that we need to honour whoever's written it.
Yes. Yeah. Is it difficult for you to have the voice of Harriet? Because it can be quite... I think the reason I went into acting was because I wasn't that comfortable being me. And so it was much easier to become somebody else. And I loved doing outrageous things as somebody else. And I had to learn how to find my voice so that I could teach people in what I do now how to be confident and communicate themselves.
But do you feel now the Leonie that evolved because she had that voice was because of that training? Not just, I can be someone else, because you actually start to reclaim you.
Yes, absolutely. I definitely use the skills that I learned in drama school, but then I had to adapt them to be comfortable because at first I felt without a character I was naked. So slowly I learnt to build up the confidence to be me.
But there's like a front that we put on when we go into an audition.
Yes. And when you meet people now, is there a particular character that they always want you to talk about? Well, I suppose now it must be probably EastEnders.
It's Elaine a lot
it's
now,
Elaine,
but
yes.
I think also just working with Dawn and Jen on so many comedies, French and Saunders and all the sketch shows and things with Alexi Sale and various people that I was lucky enough to do, comedy started and changed everything at that era.
Yes.
It was a new wave of comedy, so I think people love to go back to that and identify.
Yes, it was a wonderful time for comedy.
It was a liberating time.
It really was, yeah. And I know that you're also a proud supporter of Acting for Others, which looks after people in the theatre industry. What do they do, and how did you first get involved with them?
That's so interesting because, again, Acting for Others is another charity with about 14 different charities underneath that umbrella. And it's, when you say in the theatre, it's not just the performers. It's front of house, box office, backstage, below stage, above stage. It's everybody who is there on this train ride in our industry that gets support and help. And I've been ambassador for them, and I actually had to go to them and ask for help at one point because I didn't have any money to buy any food at the end of lockdown. I worked a lot during lockdown, but then there's often, as we know, the roller coaster that we're on, times when I didn't know what else to do. So I actually had to turn to a charity that I've been supporting. And they were there. They helped me out for a couple of weeks. It was amazing.
That's wonderful that you've been through all of that.
But we have, haven't we?
We all have. And I think that's fantastic for you to say. As you said to me, there's no shame. There's no shame in that.
Mm-mm.
And our industry is so roller coaster fickle, isn't it? So, one can be on a great high, and then you have this moment where you haven't got enough to eat, or you haven't got the money to pay for it, and so this is a really important charity because the fact that it's supporting people, not just the performers, but the backstage and front of house. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's really extraordinary and wonderful.
The most important thing is for all of us is just to be there for each other.
Yes. And I'm sure through difficult times like the pandemic, that charity must have been a real lifeline for many people.
Especially in our industry, which again is so dismissed endlessly, as I said. But in lockdown, what did people do? They started watching Netflix. They listened to music.
Yeah.
They started painting, crafting, and let's just talk about how many people made banana bread. I mean, everybody started doing something that was creative and expressive for them.
Yes.
And again, the arts is something that everyone went to survive, to escape, to get away. And that's why it's so important. Let's not forget, when we first started lockdown, we were told to go and retrain. Dancers can just stop dancing. No, that's not how it works.
I mean, I should imagine there must be so many people who need to come to Acting for Others. But I mean, I would imagine that the number are growing and growing. I mean, how can they help all these people?
It's not necessarily a financial thing. It's actually a sort of emotional journey, again, of not being alone. And there are so many different reasons why people come to Acting for Others. It's not just one thing. It's just talking to somebody and knowing you're not alone.
Oh, wonderful. So they offer support in
all sorts of different venues,
ways.
Yeah, all sorts of different varieties of things.
If anyone wants to know more about their work, their website is www.actingforothers.co.uk. The title of this podcast, as you know, is The Courage to Speak. When in your own life have you found it hardest but most important to use your voice?
It's interesting because I'm dyslexic. So when I was about 5 or 6, I was told I was stupid and lazy at school because nobody understood any kind of dyslexia at all. And now, as one's moved on, and I was always so scared, read-throughs and all of that, I'm not chronically dyslexic, but enough to know it's felt shame and not good enough. And to be told at 5 or 6 you're stupid and lazy. Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
Really helpful. And now that's all changed. When I also didn't have the body that was right for a particular thing that I adored and was passionate about and was successful at, up to a point, when I ran up the steps of Central, I suddenly felt I was home.
Oh, how
because
wonderful.
I could look like I looked. It didn't matter if I had trouble sight reading. And I think we find our way through.
Yes.
And I think that's when I found my voice. Yeah, we all put on a front, but also it's okay because we know we have a choice in life, and that choice is freedom.
Wonderful.
Choose how you feel.
Wonderful. I know from my own experience of acting that probably all actors have at some point come across a bullying director. Have you ever had that experience?
100% I have, yeah, absolutely. I think post Zeffirelli, somebody chose me to be their sort of whipping boy. I went up to him and said, you know what, I don't have to be in this show. If I'm not right for it, I can go. Because I was also in the amazing David Hare company, playing their shows as well as this other one. And he was like, no, of course not, And I thought, yeah.
Well done. And of course, we had our own experience with Franco Zeffirelli. His insults were so awful that they were actually funny. I mean, I remember him screaming, "I will have you revoiced," or saying to certain actors, "You are acting like a sick pigeon today. Act better."
But he was also generous, amazing.
Oh, he was wonderful.
Fantastic, creative, collaborative.
I agree.
Yeah,
I found his insults really quite funny
Yeah,
and comical.
Exactly.
It was so
he was
over
wonderful.
the top.
He was.
And how do you personally recharge or find relaxation after your work?
Social time, to go out, to be with friends, to lift our spirits, to have a laugh, to share stuff, to not be alone. I have adopted a dog called Derek. Derek only has 3 teeth, but he's 8 years old. He was a breeding dog in a cage for a couple of years. Then he was looked after by a wonderful woman who gradually got dementia and fed him jam sandwiches.
Oh.
So he was quite rotund when I got him, but he's now slimmed down. And getting out and walking with Derek is everything. And he cares what room I'm in.
Oh.
He cares what room I'm in. And I don't have to talk to him if I don't want to. And he doesn't have to talk to me.
Where is he today?
With friends.
So he's looked after.
Oh, absolutely,
all the time.
100%.
Yeah.
Cost me a fortune, but there we go. Yeah. But actually, he's heaven, and I can talk to him.
Oh.
And we just hang out, watch the telly, go for a walk. Those things, getting out, not staying in, is everything. So
Yes.
I'm always, even if I'm working, I'll be socialising too, because I'm not a big sleeper, so
I did wonder how you manage it.
Yeah, I
so
don't.
you obviously don't need that
no,
much
don't.
sleep.
Get out.
That's marvellous, marvellous, marvellous. What do you think gives people that courage, that motivation to speak up? I mean, like you did with that director, for example.
I think it's suddenly coming to terms and owning your worth and your value and not being defined by somebody else or a job. Because if we don't have that job or that person, then we become nothing. And we can't hand our life over to that. We have to be enough. I've known Anthony Hopkins all my life. And when we were doing Pravda at the National, I'd go into his dressing room and say, I think I'm not right for this, I'm not good enough. And he'd said, you are enough. No, you are enough. And that has been my mantra always.
Harriet, thank you so much for spending time with me today on my podcast, especially as this is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. So it's perfect that we are having the conversation also about breast cancer as well as other things. It's been a joy, as always, to talk to you. Thank you.
Thank you, darling.
I'm Leonie Mellinger. Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this episode of The Courage to Speak, please follow or subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. And do follow both me and the podcast on LinkedIn, Instagram, and elsewhere on social media.